I remember I went to my family reunion, and out of nowhere, I ended up seeing this girl that was there, and she was like the hottest girl there, which I know sounds crazy, but you gotta understand, what ended up happening next made me think that I did it at a family reunion. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane but crazy story. Now, today's story all starts back a long time ago. I want to say this was like back in my grade 10 year, and in my grade 10 year, you guys may know I was a massive player. The only things I was good at was playing video games and doing the Devil's Tango. I'm not gonna lie, there was this one moment in my grade 10 year that was kind of insane, because I remember during spring break of my grade 10 year, I was just hanging out having a good time, and then my mom ended up calling me home for dinner. So right as I was heading home, I remember I ended up getting like a bunch of phone calls, and I was placed in this group chat on Facebook. Now, one thing you guys should know about me, I never use Facebook. To be honest with you, Facebook is something that I probably only would use to talk to my grandma or talk to old people that I never really get to speak to, I guess, which sounds really bad, but going on. I remember when I pulled out my phone, I saw that in the group chat was just full of my old family members and people that I never even recognized. And as I'm scrolling through this list of like 35 people, I realized that everyone had the same last name as me. So in my mind, I automatically assumed, oh, okay, so I guess we're having a family reunion. So I got home instantly and I sat down for dinner with my family, and that's when I brought up, I have a question. Are we going to a family reunion anytime soon? At that moment, my mom looked at me and she stood up from the table and said, Bubba, it was supposed to be a surprise, but yes, we're having a lot of people over. The entire family's gonna come over, and we haven't seen each other in a very long time, so this is gonna be very good for us. At that moment, I started to panic because I'm not gonna lie to you, I love my family, but when it comes to a family reunion, things can get kind of wild. If you guys don't know, I'm Persian, or at least half Persian, so my Middle Eastern genes make us have wild parties naturally. But going on, I remember I was like kind of like, okay, whatever, it is what it is, and I didn't think too much of it. But on the day of the family reunion, well, things kind of got insane, because I remember I ended up waking up that morning and instantly hear a knock at the door. I was super confused because it was 8 a.m. and the party wasn't supposed to start till like 6 p.m. But I ended up going downstairs and I opened the door and I saw it was my grandma and a bunch of my relatives deciding to come early to help out with the party. So automatically right away in the household, we already had like, I guess like 7 people there, because I had a pretty big family growing up. From there, I was like, okay, you know, things can't get any worse. It's just family. This is normal. But as time went on, almost like every 2 hours, someone else came in through the door, and the house started to fill up more and more until out of nowhere, I ended up answering the door one time to let in more people, and I realized it was a really young boy and his older sister with her parents that came through the door. Now, I've never seen these people in my life, okay? I've never seen them ever. But right as they were walking through the door, I ended up looking at the girl, and she was around my age, and she like looked pretty attractive. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I know that sounds insane, because reminder, she ended up coming from my family reunion, but trust me, just keep listening, it gets a lot worse and weirder. Anyways, I remember the little boy ended up looking at me and he started talking to me and stuff, because I was like one of the only guys in the house at the time other than my dad and his dad, I guess. And I ended up like kind of like talking to him, and I ended up plopping him in front of the TV to play on my PlayStation 3 just so he would leave me alone and not touch my console upstairs where I play my video games usually. Anyways, as he was distracted, I always noticed how anywhere the little kid went, the little boy, the sister, or at least who I thought was the sister at the time, ended up basically following him around. It was like she was almost more of a babysitter than a sister, but I really didn't care. When I plopped in front of the TV though, like I said earlier, I remember we ended up sitting on the couch, and when we sat down, I ended up sitting beside the girl. And the girl looks at me saying, oh, like, you guys have a really nice house. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm happy you like it. Yeah, so like, how many rooms are in this house? Oh, there's like 7 bedrooms. But like, to be honest, like, we don't use all of them. Wow, like, is your family rich or something? Now, I'm gonna say this real quick. My family wasn't rich. I know it sounds insane, but we weren't like loaded. Okay, we were just like well off, if that makes any sense. But going on with the story, I remember me and her, we started talking about school and stuff, and I realized that she actually didn't live that far from me. She went to a different school, obviously, but she only lived like a 20-minute drive from me. But as me and this girl were talking, I remember the little boy, like halfway through him playing a video game, he ended up standing up and looking at me, and he's like, why are you talking to her? She doesn't like you. Leave her alone. I remember at that moment I looked at her and she's like, oh, just don't worry about it. Just walk away. So I ended up standing up and walking away, and I decided not to annoy her anymore because I didn't want to get in trouble by the little boy's parents. I remember as time went on, obviously more people came, and it got to the point where the house was filled with basically over 40 people. Some people ended up bringing friends down, and it was honestly like crazy. But I remember every time I would walk around talking to people and talking to other family members, I always noticed that the girl that was taking care of the little boy that was apparently related to me would stare at me all the time. Like, this girl kept staring at me with her 1,000 eggplant stare, like, nonstop. I remember it got to the point where I ended up basically needing a break because my social battery was being drained from how many times I had to talk to my relatives. So I decided to go upstairs to my room and I closed it. But I noticed as I was going up the stairs, she was staring at me as well. I ended up turning on my console and I ended up sitting in my bed and started to play Call of Duty just to kind of relax. And then 20 minutes later go by and I ended up hearing someone knock on my door. Now, I knew it wasn't my mom because my mom usually just walks in. She never actually knocks on the door, which I've had many crazy moments with that happening, going wrong. But going on with the story, I remember I ended up answering the door saying, "Come in." And then this girl that was supposed to watch the little boy ended up walking in. She walks into my room. She sits on my bed and says, "Oh, so like, are you enjoying your family reunion? Because you seem to be cooped up in here a lot." "Oh yeah, you know, I'm just taking a break from everyone, I guess." "Yeah, I feel that. Family reunions can be so exhausting. I know mine was." And when she said that, I was really confused because I thought this girl was like my relative of like some sorts, either a cousin or like a distant cousin, or even maybe my auntie. I really don't know. But then I ended up looking at her confused and I was like, "Wait, so what's your last name?" She ends up looking at me and she's like, why are you asking that?" Because I'm just curious." "Oh, well, my last name is..." And then she ended up saying her last name, and her last name was not the same as mine. Okay, it wasn't. It was a totally different last name. So in my mind, I thought, you know what, this girl's kind of hot, let me talk to her a bit. So me and her started talking and we started like, you know, basically talking about life and stuff and how school's annoying and all the basics of what most high schoolers talk about. And then one thing led to another. I remember she came a bit closer to me and, well, that's when it happened. We ended up making out and, well, we ended up doing the Devil's Tango in my bedroom, as literally there was a whole family reunion going on downstairs. I know that sounds insane, okay, I get it, but you gotta understand, she was hot. So going on from there, I remember as me and her were doing the Devil's Tango, out of nowhere, I ended up hearing another knock on my door. And I was like, "Oh shoot, get up and get ready." And as I was getting dressed, this kid that was supposed to be plopped in front of my PlayStation 3 ended up walking into my room and saw me doing this girl. And he's like, what are you doing to my babysitter?" At that moment, I'm like, "Oh, it's your babysitter." Yeah, big whoops. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know that, but honestly, I wasn't complaining because, hey, at least we know it wasn't one of my distant relatives, okay? And well, yeah, obviously he started freaking out, screaming. My mom came upstairs, saw what I was doing, and I got in major trouble. To be honest, it was the talk of the entire family reunion about how I did that, and I think ever since that day, I don't think I ever had another family reunion I went to, nor was I invited to another one, which, if my family's watching this, can I please go to another one? Like, I promise I'm not gonna do the Devil's Tango. But if you guys would do it at a family reunion, fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, today's story is honestly super disgusting, and I really don't want to say this story, but at the same time, I'm not gonna lie to you, this was brought up the other day from when I was hanging out with my family, and I will say this much, it is something that I think is too good not to tell. So before anyone thinks, yes, I did perform incest, but in a way where I am honestly disgusted by it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story takes place back in high school, and this was my grade 10 year. Now in grade 10, I won't lie to you, I was a total F-boy, meaning that no matter what, I was always interested in doing the Devil's Tango. Anyways, I remember one time during my grade 10 year, I was sitting down for my family dinner, and basically my family was talking about how, you know, we're not really close with our family tree, meaning that, you know, we didn't really get to talk to our ancestors or relatives or anything, because I'm gonna be honest, well, I just didn't care, but my family did start care, and they started talking about how we should become closer with our relatives. So to make this happen, I remember my dad ended up telling me, "Bubba, we're gonna host a family reunion." Now, family reunions, I thought were things that only happened in movies that were super cringe, but apparently actually people have them. And I remember me thinking that this was going to be the most biggest bummer ever. I was not excited, but obviously my dad wanted me to have a teaching lesson about how close family is supposed to be and how, you know, family is a big deal. Basically, he was pulling a Dom Toretto on me. If you guys don't know who Dom Toretto is, you need serious help. But going on though, anyways, I remember the next day, my family decided to invite basically all of our relatives, and I'm not gonna lie to you, some of them I didn't even know existed. Like, did you know it's possible to have a second and third cousin and even a fourth cousin? Like, you know how far of a cousin line you can have? Anyways, I remember basically my family invited whoever they could that night, and the next day is when things got really insane, because I remember the next morning I ended up hearing people knocking on the door of our house, and I'm not joking, some family like literally flew across like Canada just to come see us. Now I thought this was insane, and I thought this was like actually like bizarre, because obviously, you know, there's some people that I wasn't gonna meet, but
thought I was somehow related to. In a way, it was kind of an eye-opening experience until obviously my grade 10 F-boyness came out when two girls ended up walking into my house. Now, obviously, these two girls I've never seen before. They were definitely not part of my town or part of my school. But obviously, I won't lie to you, one of them did not look related to me at all, and the other one looked really related to me. And when I asked my mom who they were, my mom said that there was, you know, my 14th cousin or whatever, and that was her friend that she invited to, you know, not feel alone and bored. So me knowing that one of them was my relative and the other one wasn't made me think that I could maybe pull some riz and, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you, go see if I can, you know, strut my stuff. That sounds disgusting, but you guys know the channel well enough to know that I do the devil's tango whenever I literally can. And at this point, if they're walking into my house, you're fighting in my territory. Anyways, going on from there, I remember basically I ended up walking up to these two girls and I introduced myself. I said, hey, like, welcome to my house. My name's Bubba. What's going on? And obviously, one of the girls that looked related to me, I'm not gonna lie to you, I basically made it my mission to not pay attention to her. Obviously, I said hi to her because she was my relative. Obviously, I didn't, like, you know, show any appreciation or care for her. As for the other girl that looked absolutely, like, not related to me, I remember she ended up basically shaking my hand, and me and her, we started talking about life and a lot of things that basically we had in common. And I won't lie to you, for a girl that wasn't my relative, we had a lot in common. Me and her, we actually had, like, surprisingly a lot in common. Family issues to, you know, things we enjoyed from playing video games. Like, this girl seemed like one of those girls that seemed really out of the blue. Now, me thinking this was a dream come true, I remember me and her, we started flirting and we ate dinner together, and the whole time, I'm not joking, I was flirting with this girl full on. And I'm not gonna lie to you, with her friend that was there that looked like she was my relative, I will say this much, I did not pay attention to her whatsoever, because obviously she was my relative and I didn't want her thinking that, you know, I was flirting with her. But obviously one thing led to another, and her friend ended up getting annoyed and ended up leaving. So me knowing that my relative left the room, I ended up basically looking at the girl that I was talking to and basically told her, hey, like, do you want to, like, maybe, like, go downstairs and, like, just chill in my room for a bit? She ended up saying yes, because obviously I told her that I had, like, a really cool PlayStation 4 that I had, and she ended up actually coming downstairs, and me and her, we started playing video games together. We were playing video games together almost all night. Like, I'm not joking, like, my family reunion went on for so long to the point where I want to say it was almost like 9:30 at night, and they were still going. And I remember me and her, we ended up playing video games till eventually, I'm not gonna lie to you, I decided to pull my Riz move and put my arm around her. Now, at this point, this girl did not seem fazed by it. She seemed like she was totally cool with it, and she actually liked it. And then one thing led to another. Me and her, we ended up actually, like, you know, going to my bed, and I will say this much, me and her, we started making out. Now, when we started making out, I don't know why, but I started getting this weird instinct. I don't know what it was, but it seemed really good, but at the same time, really weird at the same time. I don't know why. It just felt really odd. And then that's when I started realizing that as she was taking off her clothes, that this girl might not be who she says she is. And right at that moment, right as she takes off all her clothes and I'm about to whip out my eggplant, my mom ends up coming downstairs. My mom came downstairs looking at me saying, what are you doing with your 14th cousin? I was super confused, and that's when I realized that this girl was related to me. I was making out with my relative, and when I asked her saying, like, how is that even possible? She looks nothing like me, and you said that you brought her friend, I thought she was the friend, but apparently the friend was actually the girl that actually looked related to me. Kind of crazy. Honestly, this whole story is a kerfuffle, and honestly, I don't really actually want to tell this story because it makes me look disgusting. But other than that, please make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe, and honestly, I'm probably gonna tell a better story later on this week. But like I always say, fall for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.